The Scots Domino. Here he is. Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke could have been the famed star in the world. He had the looks. He was good at it. He had choices. Dollar millions in value. But he kept doing picks that no one could understand. He turned down Top Gun. He turned down Company. He turned down a follow-up. He would have made £500,000 from that. A dollar. After that, he began fighting in Lethe, has his face cut up by doctors. His wife, she later said he pulled a gun on her during their wedding night. And by 2006, he was being hidden in a closet, ready to kill everyone. What really made him want to destroy everything he built? That's the truth. It is darker than you think. Mickey Rourke came into the world on September 16, 1952 in Schenectady, but he spent his childhood. It never felt steady. His dad left. Between the ages of 6 and 10, his mom got married again to a Miami police officer at a beach named Eugene. Addis. Things changed again. This time, though, it got darker. He got beat up by Addis. Mickey used extension lines so much that later, they said it helped them stay alive. Anger inside him. Something that made his work as a boxer and an actor became. He thought about the shame and how his anger made him act out first, before anyone could hurt him once more. It was 2025, and he told Radar Online that fear from those years stayed with him after he became well known, taking his sleep away for nights on end. That's it. He found a place to live when he was 12 years old. He could see how that made sense. The Golden Gate Gloves gym turned into his second home, and he threw himself into fighting with. He lost everything he had. He got up quickly through the junior ranks and looked like a good fit. It fits right into the world of sweat and suits up. But when he was 17, everything changed. Changed during a 1971 game. He hit his opponent so hard that they fell down. Doctors told him to sleep for a long time, take a year off from the ring. He felt guilty for many years. It's up into his dreams and then fed. It was his sleeplessness that kept him up at night. Years of playing. His record as an amateur finished. Having won 27 games and lost 3. 12 opponents that win by knockout. Still, all he that night was one I remember very well. He was broken. So he moved away for a while. Not to fight because he didn't trust what it could make him into. In 1971, he was 19 years old, bored, and ready to run. He no longer going to Miami Beach Senior High, hitched a ride to New York City and arrived in a small rundown house in Hell's Kitchen. It cost him $200 a month. The spot, it smelled like sweat and cheap food. And he worked as a bar worker to stay alive. A bouncer. He was said to have broken 14 jaws in 18 months. And while the number moved around, his name spread like a story around the city. As it did, its notoriety grew. Even back then, he did not want that, though. He wanted a place where his fire could do more than just hurt bones. In 1976, became an actor and worked with Lee Straber, who charges $35 a class, and inside him, everything changed. His first paid part came through an off-Broadway. He was in a play called The Hairy Ape, made $150 a week. An agent saw him there and quickly booked him for shows. Off City's Secret. How strong he was quickly caught people. And the city began to whisper his name. When Mickey Rourke was ready for 1982, when it came around. Big thing. That time came with a diner. Barry Levinson had tried out. Over 600 people to play parts in the movie, and Mickey lived through 17 shots before he died, and I finally got the part of Boogie. MGM paid $75,000, a huge amount of money for someone so new. The movie took $5 million to make and in over 30 million people around the world. The breakdown of the pool hall was done in just the judges were shocked by the 4 takes. That his work won him the national that won the Society of Film Critics Award in Pusheed went right into the Hollywood spotlight. After that, things moved quickly. In that year, Francis Ford Coppola picked him to feel free to play the biker boy in Rumblefish. Coppola passed 3 tough screen tests. Gave him Camus books and even a Napoleon's life story so he could slip more about the character. It was Mickey. He took it seriously, basing his style on and letting his cigarette hang off of him. The same way on his lip. 40% of the scene of his death came from the thing that Coppola loved most was spontaneity. The movie cost $10 million to make, but in the US they only made $2.50 million. Still, some people felt something in it. It slowly turned into a cult favorite. After that, there was another fork in the road. The Path. Studios gave him $500,000 for a Rumblefish 2 movie, but he turned them down, stay away from it and pick the Pope of instead, go to Greenwich Village. They gave him money. A full $1 million for the part, something almost never seen for a rising star. But things went wrong on set. Mickey and director Stewart got into a fight. Rosenberg and even hit him during a disagreement over changes to the script. That one punch could be heard all over Hollywood, making him a risky person to work with. The movie only made $6.8 million against it has a $8 million budget. But critics praised the rough power he brought. Oh Charlie. It was Eureka who came around the giving him $800,000 getting paid to play a bad miner. Roger later, said it was his most crazy work. Do the work. The movie only made $123,572 the world, even though it cost $11 million to make. Its weird style got things mixed up and got through going to movies with almost no attention. Over time, it gained a small group of devoted fans. But Mickey's progress was slowed by the loss. When he needed to move around the most. After that, there was the scene with the pinky finger in the Pope off the village green. People still think about it. It wasn't it was a thumb, not a finger. By Eric Roberts. Holly played it, but the thugs cut it off. In a single rough take. Michael Frank swung the knife in front of everyone. The stress in the room seeped into the movie. The cost was $10 million, and in return, it made $12 million. Nick Jr. made an extra $1.2 million from the back end, making money. It turned into one of the most memorable events of the 1980s movies about crimes. It is now the year of the Dragon. 1985 is the next year. Michael was in charge of Mickey took on the role of Stanley White, a racist police officer is going after Chinatown 3's. It took 92 days to film the movie and cost around $21.5 million to $24 million. It made only $18.7 million in the US and about 30.4% of the world's population. Asian American groups spoke out against it for how it shows Chinatown and feet didn't get released in major cities. Not the least, Mickey won a BAFTA. An award for the act. People said the set was hard work and almost everyone was worn out when they left. The movie less for how well it did at the box office and more for the fuss it caused. A year after that, he made a decision that showed a really was. He turned down parts in Watch Top Gun and Platoon. So he could be in 9.5 weeks. The show cost $17, spent $1 million and made more than $100 million in the world. The scene with the ice cubes, it was the talk of the town. It took 22 takes, and Adrian, Mickey and Kim were both pushed by Mark Basinger to the edge with strong feelings, tricks and lots of work. Mickey could have played parts that were safer, but he picked the one that made him give everything. Because of this, he became a sex symbol and a world star. After that, Angel Heart came in 1987. It took $17 million to make and earned $15.7 million in the US, but became another cult favorite. The set came with one of Mickey's most shocking moment. He punched her during a practice. Co-star Lisa Bonet was angry. It not planned, but Alan Parker caught the feeling and kept it in the end cut. The movie went through dark parts, scary themes and strange parts, and Mickey became fully involved with the part of Harry Angel. But even though the box office people who were upset still went back to Angel Heart today for the way it feels, and Mickey was really committed. The Mickey Rourke in 1987, work on Barfly was slowed down. He into a more real world than the one he lived in. For Henry to play Chinaski, the drunk artist, came from the life of Charles Bukowski. He didn't just show that you're drunk. He lived like one. For 3 he went through LA for long months. Hotel, drinking a lot, and losing 20 pounds, letting the same darkness in that which ate Chinaski should swallow him. He didn't have to when shooting started to make up. He carried the sadness in he had a tough look on his face and a rough voice. Showed up in every shot. During one bar scene, he hit a hole straight without telling anyone through a door. It was such an honest and powerful moment. It was kept by Barbet Schroeder in the movie. It took $3 million to make the movie. Made $3.2 million, but Rourke quit. The award from the Chicago Film Critics for Best Talent. It was Bukowski who said he was the only person who could have played him. The planning stayed with Rourke after the cameras turned off. Afterward, he admitted he had a hard time getting rid of the character. It was like he had opened a door, not able to close again. The strength off shaped his decisions and sometimes it led him down strange paths. In 1989, he turned down 2 parts that everything could have been different. One was Dustin had the part of Charlie Babbitt in Rain Man. Hoffman begged him to make the move. John Keating in Dead Poet was the other one. People. Johnny was his choice instead, a handsome, a grim and dark tale that matched the moods he kept going after. The movie made $20 million, but only made $8 million. 7.2 million. Some people said it had a sad tone and his powerful show didn't work with crowds, and Walter Hill admitted he didn't think the movie would do well for everyone. Rohr's choice was unclear, Los Angeles, because Rain Man and Dead Poet Society would later grow into important culture sites. It was his choice. It was clear he cared more about characters than a surefire win. However, also marked the beginning of a slide in a quiet way at the movie theater. The same shape went with him into 1988, when he directed, wrote, and acted in the movie Homeboy. He really believed in the project. That he borrowed $5 million from He Should Make It Himself. But the movie barely won for $21,000. To make the fight scene seem real, he let himself real blows until his nose broke, and he needed more than one MRI. He said his trainer had to push him sometimes she was too weak to carry him up the stairs. Beat up to climb by himself. The same thing harm and the movie's failure crushed him. He himself said that was bad on set and got the kind of a bad name that made producers nervous. This time, Homeboy was another place where his on the inside devotion looked brave. Bad everywhere else, though. The next year, he joined Francesco, a story about the life of St. Francis of Assisi. It cost $5 million to make and there is almost no American following. Not fans said that St. Francis was shy and not having charm. But there is something more what was going on behind the scenes. During filming, he quickly changed his mind. Being Catholic. He put his trust in God and the word of his priest during a tough time in his life. It was a peaceful and spiritual show. And was quickly forgotten, but it turned into a strange and personal halt in his trip. Vangelis made a scary sound. Music, which gives the movie a sad mood that fit the deep questions Rohr was fought at the time. Then, in 1990, went into Desperate Hours as a dead body, and everything seemed totaled even more. The movie had $18 spent $1 million but only made $2.70 million in the world. It got a lot of bad reviews. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a low score of 29%, and Roger Ebert said it was too much. Unnatural speech and a melodrama. Rohresi was nominated for a RZZY for his work. For the worst talent. Even with a big cast which had Anthony Hopkins and Mickey Rooney, the movie fell apart. People who didn't like how complicated the story was. The weight felt all over the place, and the acting seemed not balanced. It was yet another sign that his reputation in Hollywood was going down. In the fall of that same year, Wild Orchid, a sex fantasy with a $10 million prize, one that somehow brought in $50 million in the world. In spite of critics ripped it apart with a 9% rating, the movie caused a lot of trouble because of the tense scenes Rohr shot with model Caradas, who was 17 years old at the time, became his wife. It was said that one of their scenes was real, but he denied it. Scenes had to be cut out so a rank of X. In front of the camera, Rohr pushed for 14-hour shoots that left them tired, the whole crew. How they are together, there was a fight between him and Otis. Of anger and rage. After years, it was clear that she had been abused. Had experience. The movie made money, but the confusion around it made it even weaker. His picture was already unstable. Still has stuck to the rough roads. In the early, he said no to Hannibal Lecter in the 1990s. Elliot Ness in Silence of the Lambs, and he chose The Untouchables because he wanted to. Box. Agents told him it would destroy his work life. It didn't bother him. He thought Hollywood no longer looked up to him, and he thought fighting could help him find himself again. From 1991 to 1994, he fought 8 competitive fights and won all of them 6, with 4 knockouts and 2 ends drawing. He fought in Spain and Miami. As well as Japan and Germany. He also paid for it with noses broken, ribs cracked, and askish cheekbones, a split tongue, and forgetfulness in the short run. Medics, they told him not to go, but he did it anyway. Finally told him he couldn't fight. At age 32, his fighting days were over, but the scars didn't go away. Those wounds caused a lot of hospital bills. He made around $250,000 to box, but they spent about $1 million. We are trying to fix the damage. One surgery terrible mistake when a so-called after the doctor put in a cheek implant that left his face was worse than before. By when he finally quit the ring in 1994 after beating Thomas DeLoisio by TKO, so much had changed about his look that he was called a walking surgery in the news. Bad dream. He went through at least 6 more steps to take to fix the damage. It wasn't all good, though. The face people they used to know seemed almost Hollywood did not know what to do with the old star. Do with him any longer. All of this, he got married to Care Otis, which started on December 26, 1992. Their bond, which was already strong Ines Wild Orchid, went on. There was confusion, tabloids love it. In May 1994, she made a report of abuse against him, accusing him of violence. Rourke was caught and sent to jail, $50,000 bail. After that, charges were dropped, but the damage would not go away. The media made him look like he was unstable, and Otis talked about a marriage that was full of abuse of both mind and body. Even though the case didn't go any further legally, his public picture got worse, really deeply. It turned into a scandal. Besides everything else he was going through, adding another big weight to the years that made him start his long fall. It began with a short movie that never helped him in the way he hoped. Leave in Red came out in 1996 with a very small budget of $500,000. Mickey Rourke took $200,000 of it Osh's pay, which told you something where the cash went. They took pictures in Palm Springs, where he played a therapist trying to avoid being sued, only to get caught in a murder plan. People had hoped he would at least spark something, but reviewers were very harsh on the movie. There were no changes made by the writer. Failed, and even made fun of Mickey. He looked like he was dressed by in a mental hospital. The movie went down quickly, and it barely made a sound when it was over, which made the pain feel worse because that was how far he had strayed by the late 90s. As the years went by, brought the same downward pull into his personal life. In November 2007, long after his best years, he was stopped on 4 a.m. on a Miami Beach street as they swerved on a green Vespa. The test showed that the person had 22. This is almost 3 times the maximum limit. And, even though he said he wasn't, the report said his eyes were red, his speech was slurred, and he was followed by the smell of alcohol. He had a woman riding on the back of the scooter. He even turned around right in front of us. Of a police car, which made the officer have to take a break. He finally got community service time and a fine of $4,000. And the moment was another sign that Hugh was stuck for a long time and years in the wild. Still, something changed. Before all of that, when he took on Marv in 2005 in Sin City. The movie made $40 million and won $58 million around the world. But besides a lot of people remembered Marv. Nick Jr. I put on 30 pounds and sat through long makeup sessions every day. He turned into a rough guy with scars and a strange sense of honor. Frank Miller himself said the movie was impossible to picture life without Marv. The bad path the character took from a cannibalistic killer killed a prostitute killer to one last act of sacrifice took Mickey back into the public eye. People are happy for the first time in years. Told him he was still there, able to do great things. But that light didn't get rid of the mistakes. As well as Domino 2005 made him think of that. The movie cost $10 million and only made $50 million. Everything felt like chaos. News came out about him beating up a stuntman during a disagreement, and some people called the movie was hard to understand and long. Even it had a lot of stars, but nothing worked. Notes more of a warning than a movie gave him another bruisey, a bad reputation. But slowly, there was a different story coming up, and it finally broke through in 2008 with The Wrestler. He was picked by Darren Aronofsky after being turned down by 200 companies, putting more faith in the broken man than the business did. It cost $6 million to make the movie and made $44.7 million around the world. Mickey won a BAFTA, a Golden Globe, and was nominated for an Oscar for Best Role. When he was on stage he broke down at the Golden Globes and gave the win to 9 of his dogs who had died, calling them his only family during his worst times. The movie won the Golden Lion at Venice, and everyone could feel how raw Randy was, a man holding on to the last bits off what he was before. Some people said Mickey he wasn't acting, he was just telling the truth. That fact showed up in Iron Man 2 in 2010 as Ivan Vano. Marvel wanted him, but they could only $250,000 beginning. Robert Downey Jr. is said to gave up some of his own $10 million Mickey's pay to get it closer to $2 million. It made $624 million everywhere. And even though some people complained about the story, Mickey's the performance was great. How strong he was, his accent, the times he made things up on the spot, it felt dangerous and hard to predict. It was more proof that he could get up whenever someone made room for him. But he never kept the bad parts of his life hidden, especially the times when he almost the end of everything. He said that one time in 2010, when he was sad, he sat down not in a room with a gun, getting ready to shoot the gun until his dog Bojack arrived to him and made a sound that sounded like if they asked who would take care of him. Mickey said that moment saved his life. He even tried to mouth with Bojack. When the dog died in 2002, he took his body to a church to get blessed. His love for his dogs wasn't soft. It was getting by. Even when he was in The Expendables, in 2010, the chaos followed him. The movie made $82 million in its first weekend. In total, more than $274 million. Still, he didn't make it to much of the press tour because after getting into a bar fight they were shooting and broke 3 ribs. People I liked him as a person, but the story about the talk was affected by his injuries and absence. More than what his job called for. It added one more adds to his image. It's unexpected, intense, and hurt. There were storms in my personal life too. In her 2011 book, Carrie wrote that the night of their wedding in 1992, grabbed a gun from her after she paused about getting married. She said he had started to be bossy and jealous, making threats against himself and other people, even getting a Japanese sword and telling them to answer. She described beatings every day, phone tapping, and threats. He said it was crazy. For her book, but she never gave up. Slow down. The end of their marriage was in December 1998 with a $2 million settlement. He then said he held her prisoner mentally, which showed how dangerous both sides had deep scars. He opened up again in 2009 during On a Chat with Barbara Walters. He talked about how he slept in a closet for 5 nights. Months before and after 2006. Not able to face Tice, known to have held a gun before he was stopped again by BOJ Jack. He said that did not wish to die but wished to not show up. That was one of the important events that shaped the comeback. Later, other people saw a long time ago that the bloodshed in his life had grown roots. It was said that his dad hit him more than 50 times between the ages of 10 and 15, and they usually have a phone receiver with them. That hurt made him want a box, where he had other ways to fight back. It helped him get stronger and did more. He was angry for years afterward. His return to fighting hurt his face. And made him look different on the screen. He said he needed it anyway because helped him carry the anger he had never got away. Trouble kept coming even in 2025. When he joined Celebrity Big Brother. He agreed to pay €600,000 and only 5 days long. The 3rd day, he said sexually suggestive things to the host. On the 5th day, he used threats, used bad words toward Chris Hughes and comments that are homophobic about Jojo Siwa. Everything was caught on camera. He said sorry. Afterward and said he crossed the line, but the news stories called it a finally train wreck. Legal problems came up again as the man thought about suing the show. And everyone saw another fall take place right now. Then there was Nightwalk. In 2023, a movie that made another a painfully low place. It only made $7 for 88. Around the world and got a 1.8 grade on IMDb. Some people said it was a total failure. People were interested in how someone who, when you were at the top, you could fall to that kind of place. How much he was worth, about $10 million after The Wrestler, dropped to about $5 million because of flops and bad choices. Behind all the chaos, he made decisions that changed his life. He turned down the part of Doc Holliday once back in 1993 in Tombstone. It was taken by Val Kilmer. Instead, and gave one of the most important roles in Western movies to it. Made more than $50 million, and Mickey could have made at least $5 million. People still talk about it. Chance lost. He was caught in 1994. Again and took a picture with new boxing. He has scars on his face. Carrie is his girlfriend. He was saved by Otis. The specifics of there were no charges, but the mugshot was public. Spread out all over, showing how much the having fought for years had changed him. It caught a man who was stuck between 2 worlds, letting go of both of them. Afterward, the worst what if came next. He or she could have played Butch in Pulp Fiction. In 1994, the movie made more than $213 million. Bruce Willis made a lot of money around the world. From earnings on the back end. If Mickey had, he could have taken it and opened doors to Marvel movies and making money over time. Some say he could have made at least $20 million from that one pick, but instead, he went after fighting and walked away from a movie that made Hollywood different.